Inshallah, bismillah ta'ala, I'm going to try to go over this book and complete it. If an individual remains steadfast, this book has, is it 28 lessons? 28, maybe 30 lessons and tests and quizzes. 20 parts. If you do one a day, like Monday through Friday, you could complete this in a month, basically. Tests, quizzes, final exam. It's called Al-Wajibat, the obligatory matters. It even comes with a workbook, but you don't need a workbook because the tests and quiz and final exams is inside the book, and you can write your answers on a piece of paper. So after each lesson, it has little short assignments, which prepare you for the quizzes. So like, I completed this like maybe, it's probably been about 10 years. So I want to go over it again. This just give you an example of what the workbook look like when you write your answers in. But you could use like a regular notebook and just write the answers down. So I'm going to try to go over this because it's extremely beneficial. And then after that, it has a follow-up book, the Lathul Usul, the three fundamental principles. Very beneficial. I completed this around the same amount of time, but when I did the other one, it also comes with a workbook as well. So I'm gonna try to do these two books, man. It got a lot of important things in it. Just to start at the beginning. Also, it has in the introduction, it go through a lot of principles. It has like, just an example. It explains to you about kufr, right? Kufr, disbelief is of two types. The first type, disbelief, which takes one out of the religion, that completely takes a person out of the fold of religion. And it is 5 categories. The first category, kufr of falsehood and denial. And then it'll come with the proof from the Quran ayahs like this one. The proof is His, the Most High, Allah Ta'ala, saying, and who does more wrong than the one who invents a lie against Allah or denies the truth, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and his doctrine of Islamic monotheism and this Quran, when it comes to them? Is there not a dwelling in hell for the disbelievers in the oneness of Allah and in His messenger of Muhammad? So that's showing the first category of kufr, which is of 2 types. So this is the first category of the first type, which is the disbelief which takes one out of the fold of religion. So kufr of falsehood and denial, these is the 5 categories that take a person out of the fold of Islam. So when people go to start labeling individuals, innovator, you up on bid'ah, and all these other things, and you don't even really know, you have to start to go through these things and see, first and foremost, if they up on something that take them out of the fold of Islam, then they need to be corrected, pulled aside, try to educate them, and then you deal with them from that aspect. But this is for the regular lay person, has no business trying to deal in these fields of taking somebody on and off the sunnah. Like right now, it's unfortunate in Islam right now, you can be an extremely good Muslim, right? But you don't refer to yourself as, let's say, Salafi, right? But these individuals can take you off the path of Salafiyah for whatever reason that they come up with, and then treat you like you're not even a Muslim. All the way to the point where you start to hear things like, it ain't no Salafi masjids around. I can't attend your masjid because it's not a Salafi masjid. Or if a speaker goes speak at the other masjid, now he's an innovator because he didn't come to y'all masjid where he wasn't invited, or he went to that masjid, it wasn't Salafi, he's an innovator. Don't y'all know that the Prophet masjid is not a Salafi masjid? How you make Hajj? How you gonna make Hajj? How you gonna go to Mecca? That's not a Salafi masjid. So these is principles that take somebody outside of the fold of Islam. Now they got new ways to take you off a certain path that they feel like is correct and treat you like you're not Muslim. This or treat a whole masjid like it's not Muslim. What makes that a masjid a bid'ah? They pray 5 times a day there. You pray 5 times a day in a so-called Salafi masjid, right? They do Jumu'ah, y'all do Jumu'ah. Y'all doing the same thing, and in fact, they might be doing more than you, better classes and everything. Now, for the record, I am Salafi, right? I'm up on Salafiyah, but I'm not one of those ones that because you may do something I don't like or this and that, that means you no longer worthy of my salams. Then the same with these Tabliki masjids. If you're not Tabliki, you're not part of, come from the Tabliki Jamaat, and you're not on a extreme version of Hanafi like a Deobandi, they won't even salam you. Just different type of things, but these individuals are still Muslim. But the thing is, it might be a Salafi brother that's horrible. Might be robbing, stealing, killing, getting high, this, that, and the third. And you not do none of that, but you might not refer to yourself as a Salafi. And that individual will get treated better than you. This stuff is his beer. So once you learn these categories of what takes a person out of the fold, when can an individual get boycotted? Oh no, you spoke to this person that we don't like. You salam the person we don't like. You friends with somebody on Facebook you don't like. Therefore we gonna warn against you. Where does this come from? This isn't the way of the Salaf at all. Individuals, oh, I can't listen to that person. He's been warned against. Who warned against them? But then real scholars, top-notch scholars, done came and warned against and said, y'all, the people y'all listen to is extremely uneducated, not even supposed to be listened to, but then even to the point where they turned around and started warning against the scholars and said don't take from them because the scholars warned against them. Now y'all could take scholars off the fold, or they'll say things like, oh, well, he's a scholar, but he's not a Salafi scholar. And you ain't even a scholar at all. You ain't even close. You ain't even closer to the being a scholar than I am. And y'all could take scholars off the fold. Oh, well, you ain't got to listen to him. He's not a Salafi scholar. And then you don't even have any awareness of these categories. So now you could be a good Muslim, but they could take you off the Muslim. Oh, you ain't worthy of this. You deserve to be treated this way. So these type of things, man, obligatory matters. These things need to be learned, man. So I'm gonna get straight into the lessons before then I might delve in just a little bit of the introduction. It's kind of long, but it's a lot of benefit. So starting from lesson 1, what is Aqidah, right? Simply put, Aqidah is beliefs, right? It is the system of beliefs which should guide the life of every Muslim and Muslima. The correct Aqidah is found in the Quran, the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and his household, based upon the understanding of the companions and the pious predecessors who came after him. May Allah praises and salutations be upon them and their households. This is the creed of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Now let me pause right there just for a minute. Let everybody know this book was written by Abdul Wahab, right? So for the Salafis, you know who Abdul Wahab is. Before, if a Salafi come look at this and want to throw the book away, that book's been warned against, a Salafi didn't write it, and all these different things, or Ash'ari, you know, which the Ash'aris is starting to get just as bad as particular sects. You know what I'm saying? Because if you ain't Ash'ari, you ain't Muslim. You don't deserve certain rights. And while I pause, just let me say this one little thing. The Ash'aris have a concept where they put limitations on Allah, right? And say that it's extremely impossible, as if anything is impossible for Allah. It's impossible for Allah to be able to move because Allah created directions. Allah created north, Allah created south, Allah created east, Allah created west, Allah created up and down. So therefore, because He created these directions, He can't move, because that's likening Him to His creation. Now, let's go to a time before people spoke north, south, east, and west. Matter of fact, let's look at some animals. Let's look at the cow. Do you think a cow know if they walk in north, south, east, or west? A cat. You see a stray cat, or you got a cat. You think a cat know which direction they walking? Even you, when you go and walk somewhere, do you sit down and say, "Oh, I'm walking north"? Unless you trying to find something, or you trying to go a certain way, or you looking for a prayer direction, you're not even really oblivious. I mean, you're oblivious to those things. These things is terminology and language that other people came up with to describe a direction where they're going to find something. So take language away, and you're never going to say north, south, east, west, up, down. You're just going to be living life. So y'all trying to put limitations on Allah because of a limited understanding that y'all have based off of a concept and some terminology that humans came up with to describe things. And automatically it should click into your mind when you saying it's impossible for Allah to do something. Because first and foremost, if it's impossible for Allah to do, but not impossible for us to do, y'all basically saying we can do some things that Allah can't do. like right now, I can look my head to the east, but it's impossible for Allah to do that. I could turn my head. I said, look my head. I could turn my head and look to the west. They say it's impossible for Allah to be able to do that. But it wasn't impossible for Allah to create me to do it. But it's impossible for Allah because He created directions. So y'all need to be leery about these things and listening to these certain individuals. Like, something should click in your head that something isn't right about this. You understand? Or they'll sit down and say it's impossible to have isnad all the way to the Rasul without an Ash'ari. It's impossible to have isnads all the way to the Rasul without having non-Ash'aris in it. So y'all trying to defend a point that you also argue against. Everybody in it, because first and foremost, you got people in the isnad that's in the isnad before Ash'ari. The Ash'ari sect even came into existence. So y'all fighting and arguing. You have to keep in mind the concept of Ash'ariya came into effect way after the Rasul. That's why it's called Ash'ari. This is after the last name of an individual. Just like the same with some of the madhabs. Your madhab is from the last name of an individual. Maliki, or Maliki, however they want to say it. Some say Maliki, some say Maliki. The Maliki madhab from Imam Malik. The Hanafi madhab is from Imam Hanifa. The Asharis is from who? So these things, people just need to be careful what they falling into, and then they taking what they up on and throwing people not out of the fold of Islam, but treating them like you're not even Muslim because you're not Ashari. But then you don't even know these categories and these concepts or what a person is up on that take them out of the fold of Islam, or if it's just a mistake. Then you have to know certain things that you put on people, whether it's under the 5 categories of being mustahab, is it haram, is it mubah, like what the actual actions. And then another thing that a lot of individuals are aware of, the scholars of fiqh, the scholars of hadith, and then the scholars of usul, they don't all agree on exactly what the sunnah is. So one group may say this is what the sunnah is, so that action is a sunnah. Then another group may have their own opinion of what the sunnah is. That's why sometimes when you go to look at rulings and different things, you got to know what they are a scholar of. You see what I'm saying? Because one group may say that's more than a sunnah, that's wajib. Then the other group may say, well, to them a sunnah is anything that you don't have to do at all. So the other group may say that don't even have to be done at all, it's just a sunnah. But it could be wajib. Oh no, that ain't wajib to us. It's just a sunnah, so you don't even have to touch that. You understand? So like, you may be dealing with a group, right? One group say having some hair on your face or the beard is wajib, so you have to do it. Another group may say, no, it's just a sunnah, so you don't have to do it, and they shave their face. And then you will see scholars with just a mustache. And then people look at them because you don't know the categories and you don't know what's what, and you don't know this. Look at that person, he don't even got no hair on their face. What category, like what side of is it that he's under? Is he a scholar of fiqh? Is his understanding that a sunnah is anything you don't have to do? Obviously he don't think it's wajib because he shaved it all the way off his face. You have some who misinterpret whether leave the beard means never touch it or trim it or anything at all. Just completely leave it when you have all type of hadiths and examples where some of them trim their beard. Some of the examples was he had so much beard that he grabbed this much, and what was under the fist he cut. It don't matter. He still trimmed it, whether it was to a fistful or not. Oh, well, he only did that for hajj. It don't matter. He still did it, and that's just maybe the one example that you know of. But they made sure they had some hair on their face. So people running around mocking these rulings. Oh, what is brother? You this that woo out the woo. You don't know what it is. Is it just makruh to trim it, or is it haram? Oh, well, this one hadith say leave it. Do that means never touch it at all? Or when you look at the Arabic, do it just mean make sure you have some hair on your face? What was the fiqh behind it? Because there was a certain kind of like when you see monks today, right? Their whole thing was no hair on their face at all. There was monks and different things around during that time. One of the things was to have the hair on their face was to separate ourselves from them, to not imitate them in that kufr. So you got to know the foundations of it. Yeah, there's other things. It's masculine, it's this and that, different, opinions and things that's thrown in there. But what was the original fiqh behind what it was? We finna separate ourselves from them. Therefore, when you see us in public, you see them, we Muslims, and you not up on none of this kufr. Just like they wore izars. When you go look into certain things where the Rasul said, we're going to wear our izars, this way, with this, that, and this, because we're going to separate ourselves from them. You have to look into these things and know what these things is about before you get into the things of taking people off Salafiyah, kicking people out the asheries, and mistreating good Muslims because they may be doing something where there's differences of opinion. There's it may not be wajib, but you think it is. Just like the same way with colors. Oh, this sister, you got on a color, it's this, that, that's tabaruj and all this other stuff. And the individual you listen to might not even know what they talking about. But it gives them room to mistreat another sister because she got on some color. You understand? But then when you go dig deep into the hadiths, you will see they wore colors. You know what I'm saying? So when you get into this, and we're going to get into it, and there's some more categories. I went on, I had to, because there's certain things that kind of need to be discussed, and it's not being discussed. And once these things start to be discussed, you could probably bring the ummah back together. Because can you believe individuals is really divided? Sisters really not speaking to other sisters, or sisters not worthy of their salams because they have on colors. But then you might have a kafir friend at work with weave all the way down to their butt, tight clothes, half naked, and you treat them like they your best friend. But the Muslim sister, I'm treating you like garbage because you got on some colors. Because the people who we listen to say that's tabaru, so you not even worthy of my salam. But this kafir I work with, or this kafir that I grew up with, looks like when they leave the house, they look like they got a for sale sign on their back. But I'm going to treat them like my best friend. Some of these brothers, oh brother, you ain't got enough beard. I ain't even salaming you, brother. You don't go to a masjid that's Salafi. But then you at work, or this kafir dude that you grew up with, smoking, drinking, fornicating, robbing, stealing, selling dope, you gonna treat him like your best friend. You understand? This my man's right here, 1,000 grand. I'm riding for him, right or wrong. But another Muslim who's up on Quran and Sunnah, I don't talk to that brother. He go to the wrong masjid. This stuff don't even sound right. This behavior shouldn't even sound right in the mindset of a Muslim. But I'm gonna mark where we left off at, and then we're gonna get back to this book because it's very important. So like now it's basically going down into what is Aqidah. Let me finish this paragraph. This is the creed of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, or those who have always followed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, adhered to the way of his noble companions, as well as the succeeding generations who learned Islam from the companions, and that third generation who learned Islam from those who had themselves learned from the companions, and so are described as Salafis. This is vitally important for every Muslim to understand as the calls to others' beliefs and methodologies that differ from their clear way around. It is clear that in order to follow the correct beliefs, one must look to the source of those beliefs. Anyone who comes after them and claims to have a better understanding or insight into what has been revealed is calling to a false ideology. And Al-Hafid Ibn Kathir mentioned in his tafsir of the Quran the explanation of the verse regarding the one who leaves the way of the first believers, which is found in Surah An-Nisa. But I'm going to pause right there. And then let me put a mark right there. So another thing that you have to understand, the Salaf was 3 generations spread out. So we talking about millions of people. Millions of people. Some hadiths actually say that it's the first 4 generations. And they're also authentic. Right? You can find this one in Sunnah Nasa'i. And, you know, I might even start breaking out some of these books and then showing these hadiths as I speak about them, right? When I got a little more time, I got to get ready for work, so I'm rushing. But some say it's for the first 4 generations. For you have to follow the understanding that had ijma', where more of them agreed than the others. That's what consensus is. If 85% thought this, and then another 15% was on the opinion of this, you go with the one with the 85% when it comes to certain things. You don't even know the understanding that is had, because this is when was the consensus polled on this whole entire group? So you have to really have some type of understanding of what's going on. This is because the blind is starting to lead the blind. Another trickery that they use in today's time to get people to fall into things is they sit down and say the majority of the scholars say this. In today's time, do you know how many scholars is in Africa alone? You know how many scholars in Asia, which including India? Do you know how many scholars is in the Arabian Peninsula? Your Kuwait, your Jordan, your Yemen, your Saudi Arabia, your Turkey, all these other different Muslim countries. Do y'all know how many scholars actually exist? You don't even know. So when did they take a poll of all of these scholars to get their opinion on a matter to where they can classify it and turn to you and say the majority of the scholars say this? So when some people who dig into fiqh and know certain things with fiqh know that, not all the time, but sometimes what this means is from the 4 madhabs. If 3 madhabs agreed in the area and one didn't, that means the majority agreed with this opinion than the other. If this 2 said this and then this other 2 said this, then it's split. Right? Kind of like one example is the time for Asr. The Hanafis believe that the time for Asr is when the length of the object is 2 shadows. All the other madhabs is in agreement that the time for Asr is when the shadow of an object is the exact same length. So that's somewhere you could say the majority of the scholars agree, which this is the madhabs. Other than that, if you want to take them out, you have to go find every single scholar and take their poll for you to sit down and say the majority of the scholars agree. But certain particular groups able to get away with it because the people who follow them don't know these things and sit down and say, oh, well, the majority of the scholars said this and said that, and then you automatically take it. When you got to know, you probably can't even take a poll right now today on a issue with all of the scholars. And then you're going to have certain groups, oh, well, that scholar ain't Ashari, oh, well, that scholar ain't Salafi. And bringing all this confusion, and the Ummah is split on things that don't even matter. Imagine somebody being your best friend, right? Imagine somebody being your best friend, your favorite sister, your favorite brother, Now you got to stop being a friend because they listen to a Shadi Muhammad lecture. But they might not even pray. They might not even fast. You know what I'm saying? They might do everything under the sun, and they was your best friend under that act. And you didn't care. You loved them no matter what. But now you got to stop being cool with them because they listened to Mufti Muhammad one time just to see what was wrong with them. Now y'all can't be cool no more? Something is wrong with that way of thinking. And it should be obvious, man, that this is not from Islam. But I gotta do that. If I don't stop being your friend, they gonna stop being my friend. So now you gonna oppress another Muslim and mistreat them so that some other people won't oppress and mistreat you? We gotta start to learn what Aqidah is. You know what I'm saying? Other than the individuals who just sit down and say, Aqidah is the six beliefs: belief in Allah, belief in the messenger, belief in the angel, and it's rhetoric. When you really go sit down and look at the hadiths, you will start to see some of them only name 5. Some name 6. And get this, some actually name 7. And then you go to the Quran and then there's some that's added. And then you think this is just what Aqidah is? Aqidah is way more than that. So because you have a limited belief that it's these 6 things, you won't even know if people different in Aqidah or not. When you had a Salaf, do you know that they oppressed Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal because he wouldn't say that the Quran was created? You actually had scholars from the Salaf. Keep in mind, the Salaf is the first 3 and possibly 4 generations of Muslim. Imam Ahmed was in that time. People, the Salaf never different in Aqidah. Then why was they oppressing Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal? Because he wouldn't say that the Quran was created. He said that the Quran was the speech of Allah. You had a certain group who said it's impossible for the Quran to be the speech of Allah because that would mean that Allah is able to talk and communicate. And because we humans are able to talk and communicate, and they're animals, dogs can communicate with each other through barking. They understand each other. Lions can communicate with each other through growling. They understand each other. Ants can even talk and communicate with each other. The Quran tells us this. Whatever that animal is, whatever that is, bees, elephants, whatever it is, they have a form of communication and they understand each other. So because his creation has a form of communicating, right? That means Allah, there's no way on earth the Quran can be a speech because Allah doesn't have the ability to communicate. So therefore the Quran was created. That's a major Aqidah issue. And they pressed Imam Ahmed with it. They even whipped him. He was tortured, not just him, but a lot of them. This happened during the time of the Salaf. So for these individuals, they was never the Shah, they never did this. And then someone will want to switch, the Sahaba never did this. You can go into Tafsir Qurtubi. I might be discussing too much. Some people say these type of things shouldn't be discussed except for in certain circles because it could cause confusion. But I feel like it brings light because some people just not even aware of these type of issues. So anyway, let me go and get ready to do what I got to do. Bismillah ta'ala. And then we're going to get into this book along with also doing the 40 recommendations for the Muslim home. And then I'll also probably start just reading the Quran a little bit every day. You know what I'm saying? Just just for the people who listen, just read the Quran a little bit in English. If we had to bust out a tafsir, read a tafsir on it, and then also probably some hadiths, and just create them in a playlist and go from there, and try to continue with a tafsir for the day, a hadith for the day. But inshallah, man. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Any mistakes I made came from myself and the shaitan. Anything that I said was correct come from Allah Azza wa Jal al-Muqtadir.